bass.
Welcome to another edition of Truth and Rhythm. This is the interview show that gets deep in the pocket with contemporary music's foremost masters of the groove. I am your host, Scott Dr. GX Goldfine. If you enjoy this programming, subscribe to the Funk and Stuff channel on YouTube, which is where Truth and Rhythm lives, and be an advocate by spreading the word among fellow funk, jazz, and R&B music lovers. Join Truth and Rhythm's membership program through Patreon. You can also submit a direct donation to the cause anytime at funkandstuff.net. At that site, you can also purchase the book Everything's on the One, The First Guide of Funk. Shop for official Truth and Rhythm and Funk and Stuff merchandise, and use the Amazon links for all of your online purchases, which allocates a percentage to this show. For those of you who go the extra step in supporting the show, you have my heartfelt gratitude for allowing us to continue to shine the light on those special artists whose quest is to find truth in rhythm.
I'm delighted to welcome to the Truth and Rhythm Mothership R&B and neo-soul singer, songwriter, producer, and actress Angie Stone, releasing her first of 10 solo albums in 1999 titled Black Diamond, through her most recent called Love Language in 2023. Along the way, she scored hits like No More Rain in This Cloud, Brother, Brother, Wish I Didn't Miss You, I Want to Thank You, and Baby. Going all the way back to the late 1970s, she was also a member of the pioneering female rap trio Sequence, and the early 1990s recorded 2 albums with the R&B trio Vertical Hold. Having also appeared in film and television, her music collaborators have included Charlie Wilson, Betty Wright, Macy Gray, Erykah Badu, D'Angelo, Alicia Keys, Moby, Rafael Saadiq, Earth, Wind & Fire, Prince, Ice Cube, Snoop Dogg, and the Brand New Heavies. With that, right now, Angie's going to express how we feel about changes. Does that ring a bell?
Wow, of course it does. Of course it does. How are you? And thank you so much for having me on this show. You know, my partner, Cheryl Pearl from the Sequence, asked me, right now, she said to me in the Love Changes cover, we used to do as a hip hop trio back in the day. That was one of our favorite songs growing up. So we did it, and it was ironic that I could pull it off. But she would often say, right now, Angie's going to show you how she feels about changes. And you hit it right on the head.
Excellent. Love that. Such a great version of that Mother's Finest classic.
Thank you.
Yeah. So good to have you. Where are you today, Angie?
I'm actually in Atlanta. I'm chilling out. I've been busy pretty much all day. I hooked up with my girl, Sasha the Diva, and interviewed with her today, hung out at her Sip and Paint art gallery and had a good time.
Right on. Sounds good. Yeah, I'm not too far from you. I'm just up the road in Charlotte.
All right. Well, you know, you're down the road right there by Columbia, South Carolina, my stomping ground. So you're very close.
Exactly. Yeah, 2 hours away from Columbia.
Yes.
So, Angie, let's start way back. Talk a little bit about how you got started. You know, you sang gospel, as you mentioned, from South Carolina. Tell us about the role music took in your life, how it took over your life.
Yes, my father was a quartet singer. And so a lot of the rehearsal went on at my house. And because there was basically no siblings, that was entertainment to me. So I would take a front seat on the couch with some, peanut butter and jelly sandwiches and some juice, and I would just soak it all up. So when people look at me now and say, how do you do those vocal arrangements? Well, I got an early start because I watched them, put together their harmonies and how they stacked and how that rhythm was. That was embedded in me at an early age. Well, that moved me to want to do music. And as a result, I ended up doing just that in high school, helping to put together my little band that I had. It was a trio that we put together in high school. And then Cheryl and I decided to start a group called, believe it or not, it was Salt and Pepper, because I was dark skinned and she was light skinned. But we didn't know anything about trademarking the name. Anyway, we quickly changed that when we got a third member to the group. We named the group The Sequence, and that was the beginning of our musical journey.
And who were your biggest influences at that point, from both, I guess, the singing and maybe the rap side?
Well, there was no influences for the rap side because there were no girls that we could lean on. We had heard King Tim III. We went to a concert that Sugar Hill Gang was having, and we had already, been putting together some rhymes and different things before we even met them or knew them. When they came to the Township Auditorium, we just wanted to get in front of them and wanted them to hear what we could do. And to our surprise, Sylvia Robinson was there, who they call the Queen of Hip Hop. She was there because she had signed Sugar Hill Gang and had them on a national tour. When she heard Funk You Up, something that we had been doing for years, she said, I'm going to bring you girls up north and I'm going to make you stars. She loved it. The bass player was there. She used the Sugar Hill Gang band at the time to support us in our song. And that was the birth of Funk You Up right there. 2 weeks later, we were in Inglewood, New Jersey, recording that song. And a month later, that song was gold.
Yeah, so that's how I became aware of the group and of you guys, and I loved it right from the get-go because I'm a Funketeer from way back. And
Wow, not a
yeah,
Funketeer.
oh, absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, see, we were on tour with Parliament Funkadelic, Confunction, the Barcades, because there were no rap tours. The Sugar Hill Gang had a tour they were doing, but it was spot dates that they were doing. And so in order to get us the notoriety, Sylvia sent us out with the Funketeers. So we were in our element to see Parliament Funkadelic, our muse. We loved it.
Did you feel like you were influenced at all by groups like the Brides of Funkenstein or
Absolutely. Sheila Hutchison, which was one of the brides, was turned out to be a very, very good friend of mine. She was very close to my friend Doug Wimbush, the bass player. So we spent a lot of time together and just songwriting. And it's just funny how life plays out, never knowing that we're going to be, sisters in song, but that was how we hooked up. It was a lovely thing.
well, you may not know, but Doug and Keith LeBlanc have both been on the show. So we talked quite a
Oh,
bit about
wow.
playing those tracks, and Skip's
Yeah,
the only one that hasn't
yeah.
been on.
They played on all of the hip hop hits, which I think we're trying to put something together, but the world should know because they're to me the unsung heroes. They were the only live act that was integrated into hip hop that is always overlooked. And they've had two of the most, three or four of the most quintessential hits in hip hop. They had Rappers That Lie, they had Funk You Up, they had White Lines, and they had The Message that they played on. And it's something to be said for musicians who their music will always go down in history.
Amen. And I second, third, and fourth that for sure. What was it like though, being sort of the only ones of your type? I mean, you were pioneering at that time.
Well, back then we didn't think we were going to be the only ones, but I tell you this, it felt really good because every night when it was time for the sequence to go on stage, We had our audience in front, the fans, but we were amused at the fact that all of the artists that were on the tour, they would run from their dressing rooms just to stand on the sidelines and watch the sequence. They were so amazed at the performance. Mr. Ness said it best. They are going to bring it every time. And so when we got, especially when we broke out and did Love Changes, they were in an element where it was like, is this real? And it made us feel good because we was like, wow, here we are thinking they're stars and they're looking at us like we're superstars.
Hmm. You were definitely the best singing rap group, I gotta say, at that
Thank
time.
you so much.
Yeah.
That was our niche. We wanted to. I went to Sylvia early on, right when we cut Funk You Up. And the singing element in Funk You Up, the hey you said no there. And I said to Miss Robinson, because I knew one day that I wanted to sing. That was something that my father gifted me with, and I wanted to use it. And so I asked her, Miss Robinson, do you mind if I sing on this record? She said, oh, Angie, do what you want to do because this is a hit. She didn't think a big deal of it. She wanted us to win. And as a result, it actually paved the way for me to become an R&B artist, a neo soul artist.
Wow, you had so many elements to your career and development. And Sylvia did too, because when I was a little kid, I bought Pillow Talk, not knowing really what it was about, but just the sound of it. And then the way she became, such a successful businesswoman
Yes.
and sort of a label mogul, you
Yeah.
know. Uh,
And
can you
me,
tell us anything about her, what she was like?
Sylvia was, just like you said, a mogul. She was very smart. She knew what she wanted. She saw beyond the gift. She knew, if I can get this out, because she saw what it was doing in her immediate surrounding. Her dream was to be the first one to get it out to the masses. And, having it be in the tribal era only was not her idea of success. I think that she thought Bobby Robinson, which was another label that had rappers as well. I think she thought that he was very limited because mindset wise, he could not think outside of the box. Sylvia thought outside of the box, which is why the Sugar Hill Gang and the sequence ended up being across the board sensation. And by the time uh, Grandmaster Flash and the Furious Five, the Crash Crew, the Funky Four plus one more, Kumo D, and Spoonie G, by the time they all looked over and saw what was going on, Sugar Hill Gang had paved the way around the world for everybody to follow. So, in my opinion, I think a lot of people were very salty because they got out the starting gates first. But at that time, it was any man's game. And it really didn't, we wasn't thinking about it that way. We just wanted to go and do it. And as a result, God chose us to do, the leadership role. And that was what we did.
Now, how come Funk You Up wasn't on one of the albums?
Well, I think Sylvia outsmarted herself because back then, it was hurry up and do an album and sell the single. So selling the single to her was making as much money as you can and having people buy into an album without having to look, back and say, wow, I'm not getting the single because I have the album. Sylvia was very smart in that way. So she put an album out without the single, so she wouldn't cut the sale of Funk You Up, and therefore she had two sequence projects going at one time. Do you blame her?
Well, I was among those that was, well,
It's a smart move.
Yeah. But I was looking for it, I was like, okay, well, I'm glad I got the 12-inch.
Yeah.
Um, for me, the fun, I want to mention some tracks from Sequence that are among my favorites. Uh,
Okay.
Simon Says,
Okay.
yeah, Funkadoodle Jam,
Okay.
Funky Sound, Come On Let's Boogie, which
Those are the first songs we wrote as a group in South Carolina. Like, come on, let's boogie. Let's boogie, baby, boogie, boogie, baby, boogie.
yeah, and the one had Tear the Roof Off the Sucker was in there along with Fired Up by Rick James.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. And then Monster Jam with Spoonie G.
Yes.
And this is on the second record, Funk That You Mothers and Can You
Yes.
Feel It?
Yes.
And then on the third one, Here Comes the Bride, Fire Up That Funk, and I Just Want to Know.
Yes.
Those are all serious funk.
That's that we were funketeering back then. And I think, when I was testing my chops, I wrote a song called Where Are You Tonight? And Sylvia absolutely loved that song. And that was I did that, and I did The Times When We're Alone. That was one of the songs that I sang to her in Columbia, South Carolina. It was that song that led her to believe that one day I would be a great songwriter. And that's what she told me.
What were the three of you like in the studio? Just having a blast?
Oh, we just hung out in the studio. We went in there, we were very creative. We had a blast. We would do our parts, we would help each other. Shirley and I would normally finish our rhymes first, before Blondie would finish hers. We would get in there and we would finish ours first. And then, just sit back and wait for her to get going. I was always on the piano. That was my hangout spot. I was self-taught. So, the more you stayed on the piano, the more you learned. So that was where I spent most of my time writing songs.
Were you there at all when the musicians that we talked about laid down those grooves, or was it
Oh,
separate sessions?
yeah. I was right there with them.
What was it like just being around those guys when they were laying down those tracks?
Well, it was great to see them work because they were funky. I mean, totally in pocket. They knew each other well. And so they would kill a track. And we listened to them, but they were older than we were. And so whenever they said something, we kind of nodded and we knew they were right.
Yeah, and of course, those guys went on to form a band called Tackhead, which was a really
Yeah,
great progressive sort of
right,
funk industrial sounding group.
right.
And Doug went on to be part of Living Color. And
Yes,
yeah, those guys are amazing. So,
absolutely.
how did you feel? How did you handle when that ride with Sugar Hill came to a close?
Oh, it was very, very hard for me because at the time I had gotten in a relationship with Lil Rodney C from the Funky 41 plus one more. I had gotten pregnant and I didn't believe in abortion at that time. And I knew I was going to have a baby, but I didn't want that to stop me from work. But the only reason I chose to have my baby is because the work had pretty much dissipated at Sugar Hill. You have a high and then there's nothing happening. And Sylvia was going through her changes with what she wanted to do with who she wanted to do it with. And I get to y'all when I get to y'all kind of thing. And so I used that as an opportunity to focus on my family life.
I gotcha. Was part of that with Sugar Hill because of, I guess they went into being MCA, right?
Yes, they did go into being MCA, but I just think overall there was decisions being made that we all didn't agree on, which caused us a little tension back then.
Did you remain good friends with the other two girls, or
Oh
was there?
yeah, we were gonna always be good friends, but we didn't always agree. And when we didn't agree, we would just separate. And at times I would feel that being apart was better than being together. Whenever we bickered to the point where we have to have a fist fight, it was time to go.
I guess so.
Mhm.
Uh, how did you feel? What was your reaction when you first became aware of Salt and Pepper?
Well, I looked at the irony that while there's one that has blonde hair like the girl in our group, and then there's one that has the braids like in our group, and I was like, okay, there's other girls that can do this. But what shocked me is they had a DJ and she was a girl, and that was their third member. And so I'm like, wow, we don't have a DJ. So that was the difference. I looked at them, I didn't wish them no bad luck or anything like that, but I just looked at them and I said, part of what they're doing kind of reminds me of what we were doing.
Yeah. Well, you guys, to what extent did other girls that got into hip hop like that and rap sort of give you guys credit?
They never did. They thought we were country bumpkins. They didn't respect our rap game. Um, as individuals, they had to respect us because it was easier for them to accept me as a singer than a writer. So they were quick to, get along with me as a singer. But the minute it came down to the rap, uh, Angie B, the rap star, Blondie, Asherpa, the mouths were closed.
Mm. You definitely were not the typical path because so many, are singers that try to do a little rap, but very few rappers that actually turn out to be fantastic singers.
I tell you what, I think that we have seen all of this play out over decades of history. And I'm just so glad that I'm having a chance to tell a little of our story. I just pray to God that we are given the opportunity to speak as a group.
So you went on to work with Mantronics, who did some great stuff. How did you connect? How did you make that connection?
Being a songwriter for MTA Music, hooking up with Curtis, there was a young lady by the name of Geraldine that worked for Uptown. She was very close with Mantronics. She introduced me, and he wanted to get more integral in writing and being a part of his, creation. And so I started working with him, and we started to develop some beautiful songs for his album.
Yeah, definitely innovative. A lot of his stuff.
Mhm.
And then Vertical Hold. How'd you make that connection? How'd you feel about that experience?
Vertical Hold was my go-to group or my spot when I left the group Sequence. I knew I wasn't going to give up music, but I needed to find a way out. I needed to get in the studio. I need to write. I need to work. I need to still feel validated in music. So I took my first paycheck and bought studio time at a place called PAW, which is where I met the members of Vertical Hold. And they loved what I was doing so much that they gave me a track and said, hey, could you write to this? And that was the birth of Vertical Hold.
And what year about was that? Do you remember roughly?
I don't remember. It's probably, uh, we got started 79, I would say about 83.
You guys had somewhat of a hit though, right?
Oh, yeah, we had Seems You Much Too Busy. It was a great song for us. We had a hit song, and, you know, it was just a great time. I think it went to the top 13.
Yeah. Now, did you ever tour or perform with them much?
Oh, yeah. We stayed on tour with the OJs and the Jones Girls. Again, I tell you, it wasn't a rap tour, but now we were given the opportunity to tour on these legendary tours with legends.
That's funny. I just interviewed Shirley Jones this week, yesterday or
Wow.
the day
And
before. Yeah.
boy, she's always here in Atlanta doing something major. And I went to see her the last time she was at City Winery. She was phenomenal.
Yeah. She's still keeping that legacy going strong.
Hmm.
And then Devox.
Yes, Devox was a group that was created by Jerry DeVoe. I was a demo artist for Devox. He asked me to basically demo these songs, and I said, sure. I thought they were going to be for Warner. Turns out they were for him to put in his catalog and, shop these songs around and to say, these are my songs that I wrote. And lo and behold, they called it a group when there was never really a group. And he took all the songs and, the rest is history.
And you finally got your long overdue solo launch in '99. Um,
Yes.
Such a long time coming. It must have felt so gratifying.
Look, I can tell you now that going head first and doing my thing made me so strong and independent and so happy because for the first time the world saw me and they heard my gift and it wasn't plagued by who did what. It was just me.
It's an impressive debut. I mean, such a great album. Um,
Too.
I already mentioned a lot of the hits, but there's so many other highlights like Life Story, Visions, um, and then the extended version that came out later had some serious funk that was added to it also.
Yeah.
Tracks like Irresponsible, um, My Lovin' Will Save You Somebody, Save You Something. I got this thing for you. And, I got some Shaka vibes in there. I got all kinds of stuff from that. What do you remember about the process of making that first album?
Well, I just remember that I had to go hard or go home, and I didn't want to go home. It was a funky hip hop style record that was very appealing to everyone.
How did you feel when it got some traction? And do you remember hearing a track off that for the first time on the radio?
Yes, I lost it when I heard my record on the radio. Once it started to chart and make a little noise, I felt relieved that, okay, we get another shot. And I was excited about that.
We didn't really touch on it. Who are some of your favorite singers that really influenced you or you admired?
Well, some of my favorite singers are no longer here with us, but I loved Craig Derry from the Sugar Hill Gang. He was one of the singers there that I learned a lot from. I love Sam Cooke. I love Marvin Gaye, Aretha Franklin, and Gladys Knight. Betty Wright. Those people made a indelible mark on how I would move in the career that I chose.
Did you get to meet, obviously, Sugar Hill, but did you get to meet many of the others?
I did.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So, somewhere along the line, I don't know the time frame, but it was close to the time of your second album. You had a record come out with Prince. How did that come to be?
Whew. Prince was very enthusiastic about working with me, and he invited me to his home. We went there, and he said, no pictures, no pictures. We went to a room where he has a lot of his T-shirts and stuff, hats, and there's a big TV screen in there. And he was just talking to me about my music career, and he says, whatever you do, don't sign to the label. I said, what am I supposed to do? It's too late. I've already signed. I think he was trying to get me to commit to signing to him and letting him teach me how to move as an independent artist. Hmm.
Yeah, he was definitely preaching that. He had long cut ties with Warner Brothers and done his own thing by then.
Right.
Yeah. Um, so you cut that song at Paisley Park?
I did.
You Make My Love Shine, right? That was,
Hmm.
yeah. I always thought that should have gone maybe. That's the thing. If you go independent like that, the big risk is you don't get the promotion and distribution you might otherwise get. So, what was your objective with the ensuing records? How did you want to progress or change from what you did with your first one?
Well, I wanted to grow as an artist. I wanted to evolve into something that would be a leadership role that people would follow. As such, I did. The more I moved and grew, each album grew me further into my grown up, you know, Angie Stone. I had Fantasia, J Hud, Alicia Keys. A lot of them used to come to me for advice. Keisha Cole, and all of that felt right because I had paid the dues.
And glad to be a mentor.
Yes, glad to be a mentor.
I thought Rich Girl was like that's one among my favorites, that album. Just really came back full force on that one, I felt. Did you feel something special with that one? Or is that
I
just me?
did. Rich Girl captured the essence of soul that I knew was in me. It was that particular song was written by Yana Crawley, who was following Angie Stone. Fortunately, she's just a gifted sister, and she wanted me to hear that song because when she wrote it, she wrote that "Do What You Got to Do." All those was in Angie Stone vein, and then we created Sister. We went on and had a good time in the studio, but that was when I began to feel all of my oomph come back.
Yeah, I could sense it for sure.
Mhm.
When you're in the studio, what place do you try to go to pull the best out?
Well, I like to go in a solemn, calm room where I can, really zone in and hone in on what it is I want to feel. I take the best of the best songs in there with me. Like when I did No More Rain, I took Neither One of Us in there and I listened and I said, I have to embody the essence of what they're doing. Those songs back in the day embodied a purity that says, hey, I can feel this. I know this is real, what they're going through. And that's how I wanted to approach everything in the album. And I think that I did it.
Mhm. And Full Circle was aptly titled because you kind of, for me, kind of went back a little bit to that, for lack of a better term, some people feel differently about it, but more of a neo soul kind of flavor.
Yes.
Um, yeah. And then the new one, Love Language. Um, Tell us about the making of that one.
Wow. Well, when I did Love Language, I was unsure as to what I wanted to do, but I knew I had to incorporate the Mahogany Soul spirit. So when I cut that album, I had to go and listen to Mahogany Soul first. When I finished listening, I was convinced this album is going to be extra special. And I feel like I captured some of the old, some of the new, and some of the in between in the Love Language album. And I think that everybody can relate to it.
Um, yeah, and Kiss You and Love This Feeling. I got videos out for those. Of course, those are highlights. Love Language title cut. dance track. And Old Thing Back is a favorite for me.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, that took you back, huh? You want that old thing back.
It's just such a nice,
Understand why?
nice slow groover, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Um, so which do you have a particular affinity for one or two tracks among the group?
I do. Um, Hey love, it's been such a long, long time. I love that. That's one of my favorites. And I also like Good Man. I think Good Man is a like out the park hit. It is a great, great song, and women love that song.
Have you had a chance to perform a lot of the material?
I've just performed Good Man, and people love it.
Hmm. So what about the themes on this one? What was some of your inspiration for that?
Love Language. I think Love Language has an R. Kelly feel. And that whole Chicago vibe was what I was going after.
Hmm.
I wanted it to, I want R. Kelly, wherever he's sitting and that song comes on, I want him to recognize and say, wow, Angie Stone got it. She did it. She did it for me.
Hmm. Could you tell us, Angie, what it was like working with a couple of these other folks that I had on my list? Charlie Wilson.
Oh, Charlie is always extra cool. I've been knowing Charlie since the sequence days. Uncle Charlie, every time we get together, I harass him to sing my favorite Gap Band song. It's called You Are My High. And he can just, when he does a run, he owns it. So I'm very impressed with his ability to sing.
Yeah, and still going so strong. The way he
Absolutely.
came back as a solo artist, very impressive.
That's it.
And then what about Earth, Wind, and Fire?
Oof. The best of the best group to me in the world. I love Earth, Wind, and Fire. I love Maurice White. I love Verdine White. I mean, I love them all. I just think they put something in the atmosphere that, gives us the ability to reach back in yesteryear and find our youth again and live it all over. You still feel the fun you had with Earth, Wind, and Fire.
Yeah, I'm so glad they're going still too.
Oh, yeah.
Um, what about Erykah Badu?
Erykah Badu, I love because when we met Erykah, Kedar, myself, and D'Angelo, she was just an opening act in Texas. She and I clicked right away. I watched her develop. It took her about a year to get right because originally her styling was a little different, but Kedar believed in her eclectic ability, put her in a training camp. She came out with a sound that was reminiscent to Billie Holiday meets me, her Erykah Badu stance, and it worked for her. And I just thought it was very clever, very unique, very simple, and she hit the ball out the park with.
Yeah, it's so cool to see a artist surface with so much individuality like that.
Right,
They can get away with being eclectic or whatever.
right.
Yeah. And what about Betty Wright?
Oh wow, Betty, that was my sister in song and spirit. I was with her up until the end, and I miss her dearly. She was a true friend, one to have. She often said, I reminded her of herself. We would always laugh about it because we're both born in December. We're both Sagittarians, a couple of days apart. So we would always make sure we talked to each other for our birthdays. And this particular time, it was she, myself, and Shaka Khan. We called ourselves Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. We were three the hard way, and when we lost her, we lost a gem. I still am lost because as young as her spirit was and her soul was, this awful thing that creeped up and took her life was so unsuspecting. We never saw it coming, so we weren't prepared for it. But she prepared us for, just to be strong. But I'm so glad that I went down there and I just didn't let anything stop me. I got up. I said, I'm going to Florida. And I went down there for a week with her. And I can honestly say we had a blast. We went out, we ate, and her daughters told me that was the first time she'd been out in a very long time. And you couldn't tell she was sick at that point because she was laughing and just so glad to be out. And that's all you want. You want people to love you in spite of everything.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
She was a genius, man. She was the boss, okay?
I feel like maybe she's a little unsung, not getting quite as
She's
much.
not a little unsung. She's a lot
Yeah.
unsung. And I don't know why this industry is so cruel, but I do believe that when you love the Lord out loud, it's like they put a muzzle over your mouth and they don't want to hear you and they don't want to see you. And unfortunately, I catch a lot of the same heat, but they can't stop me from loving God out loud. I'm going to do it. And that's all it is.
Yeah. Well, we love that spirit. Those of us, that are fans, and even those that aren't, definitely respect it. So good
Yeah.
on you, Angie. Now, how did you get drawn to acting?
That was my first love. Acting was something I wanted to do before singing. I was in school, in high school, I was taking acting classes, and it was just something that I looked forward to. So, lo and behold, I started act. My son, when I was in LA, I put him in acting classes. He was a natural, and I knew, I said, this has got to be hereditary because how and why would he want to do acting? Right now, he's scheduled to do 2 films, and I'm actually working on 2 shows that I'm producing. So I'm excited about it.
Hmm.
Hmm.
How is acting in front of the camera different from, putting on a musical persona on stage?
Well, acting in front of the camera, you have to become someone else. It's the first time you get to act out of your character and go into something or someone else that is totally opposite who people know you to be. So for me, it's challenging. I don't want people to see me as Angie Stone, the actress. I want people to see me as the character that I'm playing.
Hmm. But there are some similarities, right? Because certain songs you might sort of in the studio adopt a certain mentality. It's sort of like another character, right?
Yeah, there is. It all depends on what songs you're singing. Hmm.
Do you have a role that's your favorite?
Um, the role that I played in Fighting Temptations was pretty good because they allowed me the freedom to ad lib and to add to the role. I also played a strip club owner once in a movie. The movie was supposed to go to David Banner, but they ended up giving it to me. And so I thought I had done pretty good, but I think my greatest role is yet to come.
There you go.
Hmm.
Um, so looking back at the records, is there a project that you're most proud of out of all the 10 or so musically?
I'm most proud of all of it, but my fave is Mahogany Soul.
And why? What is so special for you about that one?
Mahogany Soul was the album that I had just had my son. D'Angelo and I had just broken up. It was a challenge among challenges. I had to make a record devoid of codependency on anyone. I had to make this record happen for Angie. I didn't make it, I mean, the world got to experience it, but this particular record had to be one that I gave up any and all for. And what I did was I had to let go of all the drama and I had to travel on this journey of the unknown. And I went in there, I laid my son on the keyboard and I played the keyboard like I was a seasoned keyboard player. And I did whatever I could to bring these songs to life. I begged no one to help me. If they wanted to help, they could, but if they didn't, oh, well, I was going to get this record made no matter what. And that's why it's so important to me because I put 200% of myself on the front line. This was my Truth or Dare album. Either you got it or you don't.
Yeah, you didn't want a sophomore jinx either, right?
Right.
Yeah. And the label seemed to support you though pretty good. I mean, they put out 4 singles.
Oh yeah, the label loved me. Peter Edge was one of my favorites. Clive Davis loved me. I remember when I asked for the release from the label, Clive looked at me like, "What are you doing?" I had written him a letter because I think that was the furthest thing from his mind that I would want to leave. But at the time when they wanted to do the greatest hits album, I'm like to myself, I haven't even gotten started. How you gonna make a greatest hits album? But anyway, that read in my mind, you're displeased with me. So I'll do you one better. Give me a release. And that way the world wouldn't think I got dropped from my label and I can move on feeling like I made the move. And Clive Davis loved me so much. He said to me, I don't know why you want to leave, but here's $50,000. And if you ever decide you want to come back, you can come back. And I went to Stax Record. And the very first record I put out was a duet with Betty Wright, and it went #1. At the same time, Alicia Keys was #1. And I remember Clive and Peter Edge calling me and said, really? You had to wait till you leave us to get a #1 record?
Mm.
I said, well, you know what? These people over here didn't have 99 other artists, and they worked my project, which is why I got a #1 record. And we could have had one there, but y'all got too much going on. And that's truly how I felt.
And how many did you end up doing for Stax?
How many albums?
Yeah.
Oh, I did Stone. I think I did 3. Was it 4? 3 or 4?
Yeah. Oh, I got to mention on Dream, I really love Too Bad Habits, that
Oh, yeah,
track.
it's a great record.
Um, and on Covered in Soul, Everyone's a Winner, you got Eric Gales on there somehow, which is one of my favorite guitar players.
Really. Listen, I was so angry because they put Covered in Soul out without letting me hear the finished product, and it was so incomplete to me. And I says, why would you misrepresent me this way? I was very upset about it
Mm.
in comparison to the other work. You can clearly hear that it was incomplete.
Yeah. Well, I'm always a fan. I'm a bigger fan of originals anyway. Um, but so if you had to pick your top 3 songs, what might they be?
Um, oof, that's hard. I love the song Magnet. Um, of course, Wish I Did Miss You. And I love No More Rain in This Cloud.
Mm.
Mhm.
And what about, are there 1 or 2 overlooked tracks that you thought were just extra special, but it didn't catch on for some reason that, hey, go back, give it a listen?
I think Sister was an overlooked hit record. It was a brilliant record. The other record, that I thought was overlooked was more than a woman should have been a bigger hit than what it was.
Did you lobby for those to get pushed
I
at
did.
all? Yeah.
Hmm.
Mm. Was it usually the label that was picking the singles, or did you weigh in
You
on those?
always go against what you want.
Yeah. Mm.
But when I went to Stax, we picked the right song and it went #1.
Angie, what might be one or two of the most unforgettable concert or on the road experiences that just stick out for you?
I think in Australia, watching the crowd react to D'Angelo and I getting on the stage after 20 plus years for the first time. I'll never forget their reaction. I'm like to myself, how do they know it's me? I wasn't thinking there was a Megatron behind us, so it made everything super big because there were so many people out there, you just couldn't make out who was who. That was one thing. I think the other thing is having Alicia Keys, Queen Latifah, um, Jennifer Hudson, all of these people lean on you for answers and expect you, to understand everything that it is that would be bothering you. They lean to me for their understanding, but they're not understanding me.
Mm.
And I say that because I've worked closely enough with all of them for them to say, you know what would make her feel a certain kind of way? Well, the fact that you never mention anything that we've done together is sad in a way.
Mm.
Hmm.
If you had to pick five albums that would be your Desert Island Five by other people, I know it's not going to be definitive because it's just what you're going to think of right now, but it'll be close to it. So, what five might you grab forever?
Okay. I would grab obviously Earth, Wind and Fire. Um, I absolutely love it. I would probably take D'Angelo record, Brown Sugar. It's a great piece of work. Um, I would also take the Walls group because they are brilliant in their performances. Um, I would take the Curtis Mayfield Jam, and I think I would take Marvin Gaye, What's Going On. Hmm.
Um, any particular reason for those choices? They just touch your soul, or
All of their music sticks out to me and it never grows old. I can listen to it over and over, and every time it evokes an emotion. I can listen to a certain song in any genre of theirs and find myself where I was when I first heard it. So it kind of is a landmark for where I want to go. If I'm in a desert or if I'm stuck somewhere, I would always want music to take me where I've been before.
hmm.
Hmm.
And looking back, what would you say that you're most proud of accomplishing musically?
Yes, looking back, I think I'm most proud of accomplishing doing No More Rain in This Cloud by myself with no help and having it turn out to be the big hit that it turned out that would change my entire career. It would give me a place that I could call home in the industry.
Mm. So, can you still spit rhymes on it, right now, if you had to? Or are you out of practice?
Well, if I had to, I guess I could.
Yeah. When was the last time you did any sequence material?
Well, we did the City Winery about 2 weeks ago. And I
Oh,
brought Blondie on stage and she did her rhyme. And I did one of the runs from the second record, which was I rocked the Army, Air Force, and the Navy too. And the One Nation under the phone, red, white, and blue. You see, now A is for Angie, B is for bad. Something that your MCs never had. And when I walk in your party, my spirits start to rattle. I know for a fact it's an MC battle. Give it up and dish it out and do what you want to do. I'm Angie Stone and I'm busting loose. But we came here without a doubt to tear the roof off and turn this mother out. So to rock you on without delay, sequence gonna rock to the break of day.
hey, all right. Beautiful.
Yes.
Wow. So thank you for that. What other, touring or what else do you have going on for the rest of 2024 that people can keep up with?
Right now, I'm working on two shows. One is called Diamonds in the Rough, where I'm taking a lot of the Sunday's Best winners that won gospel awards, but really are looking for a secular breakthrough, following their lives and careers and what they're doing now. The second thing that I'm doing is co-hosting a show called House of Flav with Music Soul Child. What we're doing is giving young people an opportunity that can't make The Voice or all these other big TV shows, an opportunity to get on our show and do some live music with the band that we put together and do some original material. Also, there's a foundation I created called Angel Stripes, and that is where we take all of the homeless shelters product and things that we come up with. I have 150 bags ready right now to take to the homeless shelters. We're going to start making Easter baskets for a lot of the children at some of the schools and some of the shelters. So that's some of the stuff that I'm working on right now.
Wow, that's a broad range. You're always in fingers in so many different pies,
That's it.
How can people best keep up, with where you're going to be or what you're doing?
All they got to do across the social media, it's the Angie Stone, THEANGIESTONE.
All right. And get Love Language if you haven't gotten it already, for
Yeah,
sure.
check it out. It's off the chain.
Absolutely. I'll vouch for that. Angie, thank you so much. Thank you so much for the music over the years, all these decades, so much great
Thank
music.
you.
Thank you.
I appreciate that. God is good, and I appreciate you.
Thank you. Take care.
Take care.
Okay. Bye-bye.
I hope you enjoyed this episode of Truth in Rhythm. A big thank you goes out to our guest as well as to you, the viewer and listener. Also, much gratitude to Pleasure for supplying the show's funky opening and closing music. As a reminder, you can always access the complete list of linked shows by episode at funkandstuff.net. I urge you to support this program and receive the extra benefits along with that by subscribing to the Funk and Stuff channel on YouTube and sharing it with funk, R&B, and jazz lovers, joining Truth and Rhythm's membership program at Patreon, submitting a donation at funkandstuff.net, buying Everything is on the One, the First Guide to Funk book at Amazon, shopping at the Funky Things store for cool merchandise at funkandstuff.net, and linking through funkandstuff.net for all of your Amazon purchases. In addition, if you're an artist or anyone seeking proven, results-oriented professional marketing, PR, writing, or editing consultation or production, check out the media services section at funkandstuff.net. Also, I encourage you to drop me a line at scottg@funkandstuff.net. I love the feedback, suggestions, guest requests, appearance and sponsorship inquiries, and just talking about my favorite subject, groove-based music. For now, and as always, this is Scott Dr. GX Goldfine saying, keep on vibing to the rhythm of the one.